What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. Today it is time for the Week 12 predictions of the Premier League, the final Premier League game week before another international break. Before I get any further, I want to give a massive shout out to Ethan Hawkins, who left his predictions down in the comments below, and he did correctly predict Bournemouth to beat Manchester United, among other things. So if you want to get shouted out in the next episode of the Premier League predictions over here on the Full 90, then leave your comment down below for how you think the games for Week 12 are going to turn out. Before we get any further, please do leave a like. It's always appreciated. Let's shoot for 100 likes once again, because you guys have been killing it with the support lately, and it's just been really great to see. So before we get into the Week 12 predictions, it's time to take a little look back at my Week 11 predictions and see how I got on. So kicking it off, we had Bournemouth versus Manchester United. I predicted United would get the third away win in a row in all competitions and win 2-1, but it was actually just the 1-0 win to Bournemouth. Funny thing was that I was out to lunch with my family, and we got there at the venue just at about 20 past 1 or something, so I knew this would be half time. So I said to my dad, oh, just enough time for Bournemouth to go in with a half-time lead. I look at my phone and see that Bournemouth did go in with a half-time lead against Man United, and Bournemouth did hold on to that lead and were able to win. So I did get that prediction wrong initially, but on the day I had a funny feeling. The next game, Arsenal versus Wolves. It's a sad day when an Arsenal fan can correctly predict a score of an Arsenal match at the Emirates when it's not an Arsenal win, but I did correctly predict it to be a 1-1 draw between the two teams, so slightly frustrating there with that one. Aston Villa versus Liverpool. I predicted a 3-1 win to Liverpool, and it was very close. It was a 2-1 win to Liverpool thanks to a couple of very late goals. It was a real title-winning performance at the end there in the final 10 minutes for Liverpool. Brighton versus Norwich. I again correctly predicted the score. I predicted that Brighton would win 2-0. I don't think I've ever done that before. Correctly predicted the score of a Brighton win, so I'm very happy with that one. Next up, Manchester City versus Southampton. I went with a 5-0 win to City, and it was a very close one. Squeaky bum time for Pep Guardiola. It was 2-1 to Manchester City in the end. The next game, Sheffield United versus Burnley. I predicted a 1-1 draw, and Sheffield United turned it up, moving now into, I believe, 6th place in the table, 6th or 7th. They won 3-0, so that was probably one of their best results of the season, to be honest. Next up, West Ham versus Newcastle. I did predict West Ham would score 2, but I didn't think Newcastle would score 3, that's for sure. I predicted a 2-1 win to West Ham. It was a 3-2 win to Newcastle, so a great performance from them in that game. The next game, Watford versus Chelsea. I predicted a 3-1 away win to Chelsea. It was a 2-1 away win to Chelsea, so not too far off. Crystal Palace versus Leicester. I predicted a 4-2 goal thriller win for Leicester, and it was actually just a 2-0 win to Leicester, so I got the winning margin right, just the whole game, you know, not quite right. Everton versus Tottenham. I predicted a 2-1 away win to Tottenham. It was actually a 1-1 draw, the longest stoppage time I've ever seen, 12 minutes. Obviously, we had the horrific Gomez injury, which when you first see it in real time, you think, what's actually happened? And then you go back and you watch it again, and it's really rough. I didn't know what happened until they zoomed in on him, and his foot was just not in the right place. I believe he broke and fractured his ankle. It was a horrific injury. So, and naturally, you know, Son, Aurier, the players were just distressed. It was a real a whole deal. I definitely think Dele Alli's handball in the box was a penalty, but I also think Son did get taken down in the area. I think there could have been 2 penalties there. The Dele Alli one was stonewall for me. It hit him on the hand, so I don't get how that's not a penalty, but we'll move swiftly on. But anyway, we've got the Week 12 predictions now. Kicking off, we have Norwich up against Watford. Norwich struggling right down at the bottom of the table, only above Watford. And I do believe Watford are going to get a win. I think Norwich have been really struggling ever since that win against Manchester City. They can't string results together, positive results. And Watford, they just haven't hit the ground running, that's for sure. They're really struggling. They can't buy a win, and I'm going to predict their first win of the season here with a 2-1 away win over Norwich. That'll be a good prediction. But Watford, I think they have a decent squad. It's just not clicking. I think they can do it. I'm going to go for the Watford win in this one. The next fixture is Chelsea up against Crystal Palace. Chelsea are looking really good. They're getting results. They're grinding out results. I think they've equaled now. I don't know if it can't be their all-time record, because they used to be insane in the Premier League, but at least a recent record of like wins in a row in the league. I don't know. Maybe it is all-time, because maybe they just drew a game or something before. But yeah, Chelsea are just on another level right now. They're playing really well, and I think they're going to beat Crystal Palace comfortably enough here. I didn't really see a lot from Crystal Palace up against Leicester. Leicester, although they left it fairly late, looked quite comfortable throughout the entire game. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 win here to Chelsea over Crystal Palace. Now the next game, Burnley up against West Ham. Both teams did not have a great game week for Week 11, and I think this game lends itself to a cancelled out draw. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between the two teams, because Burnley, they weren't good against Sheffield United, but West Ham, they really should have done better against Newcastle. So I think they're going to both sort of bounce back in a way with 1 point each and 1 goal each as a result of that. Kicking off after that, we have Newcastle versus Bournemouth. Now, Newcastle and Bournemouth having much better previous weeks, and in the same way that Burnley and West Ham both had bad weeks, and I predict them to cancel each other out, Newcastle and Bournemouth both had good weeks, and I'm predicting them to cancel each other out. I'm going to go for another 1-1 draw between those two teams. Now, the next fixture is Southampton up against Everton, and Southampton, they made a better account for themselves the 2 times they played Manchester City at the Etihad, conceding 5 and scoring 2 in the 2 games against them, as opposed to losing 9-0 against Leicester. But I do think Everton are this is going to be a special game for them. I definitely think the players are going to try and go out and win, specifically for Gomez, and hopefully, you know, obviously they'll be wishing him a speedy recovery, and I'm sure him watching his team do well will make him feel a little bit happy in what is going to be a very rough few months probably for the Everton player. I'm going to go for an Everton away win in this fixture against Southampton. I'm going to go for a very close 2-1 win to Everton. I think they played okay against Tottenham. I don't think either team deserved to win that, to be honest. I think they were both a bit rubbish, actually, now that I'm thinking back to it. The last half an hour was engaging to watch. I don't want to say exciting because partly it was horrific, but the last part of the game was very engaging compared to a very dull first half. So I think Everton are gonna get the win over Southampton just. The next fixture is Tottenham up against Sheffield United, and this is where I think it all looks like it's leading towards a result for Sheffield United based on previous results and form, which I just think it's the perfect occasion for it not to happen. And I think Tottenham are going to get a win and bounce back, and I think it is about time Sheffield United drop some points, right? So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Tottenham Hotspur in this fixture. Now, the next one, not the game of the week because we got the real blockbuster on Sunday, but Saturday evening, Leicester up against Arsenal, and the way Leicester are playing, I can't see Arsenal winning this one. Arsenal have got firepower going forward, they do, so I think they're going to score goals. I just think Leicester are going to score more. I'm going to go for a 3-2 win to the Foxes at the King Power Stadium in this fixture. I think I'm really excited to watch that game because Leicester play good football. They do play good football, and against a team like Arsenal, who are equally going to try and hit you on the break and attack, it's going to be end to end, and hopefully there'll be goals. And obviously, as an Arsenal fan, I would like Arsenal to win, but at the same time, I don't mind Leicester. I don't mind them doing well. Obviously, I don't want it to be at Arsenal's expense, but you know, I'd rather Leicester be Arsenal than most other teams if it was to be. So yeah, I'm going to go with Leicester to beat Arsenal 3-2 in that one. My phone just went off. I apologise for that, but we will move on swiftly to Manchester United up against Brighton. Now, Brighton have been having an alright season. They've been doing okay, playing a bit more attacking football. Manchester United are here at Old Trafford, and the way I see this going is Man United getting a 1-0 lead in the first half and actually being able to hold on. And I'm going to go with a 1-0 scoreline to Manchester United. I think if Man United play well, there's potential for them to score quite a few goals, but Man United, they've got it in them to not really play that well, to not create any chances. They can have 70% possession for a period of, say, 20 minutes and not generate a shot on goal. That's the kind of team they're turning into. It's a very rough time for Manchester United. It's sort of started to look up, and then they lost to Bournemouth, and now they're sort of back in the similar sort of place they were. So I'm going to go for a win, a Manchester United win, because their defense is good. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to United. Now, the next game is Wolves up against Aston Villa. These two did meet in the Cup, if I'm not mistaken. I think Aston Villa actually went through. I'm not entirely sure, but this is at Molineux for Wolves. Wolves getting a 1-1 draw against Arsenal, and Aston Villa giving Liverpool a little bit of a scare, but unfortunate really to walk away with nothing from their game in the previous week. But I think Wolves are just going to get the win. I feel like Wolves are going to win. I don't really know why. I just looked at this fixture and it didn't take me long at all to just say, yeah, Wolves win. And that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Wolves. You will have noticed that 2-1 is a very popular score prediction for this week. If I go to my correct predictions, though, I have correctly predicted 2-1 4 times correctly this year, only surpassed by 1-1, which I've correctly predicted 5 times. So it makes sense that the majority of my predictions this week, because there's nothing in particular too different about these fixtures that a lot of the score predictions end up being 2-1 and 1-1, because that and 2-0 are the most frequent scorelines in football, I believe. So it makes sense. But the final game is the big one. It is Liverpool up against Manchester City, and I wrote down this score prediction swiftly as soon as I saw this. And then, to my surprise, Manchester City at Anfield are the favourites with the bookies to win this game. And I have gone for a Manchester City win, which might be considered an upset almost, because Liverpool are in red-hot form. They've played 11, won 10, and drew the one with Manchester United. And I just feel like, because Man City haven't had as great a season as Liverpool, obviously, I just think Man City are going to get the win. I do, and I'm going to go for another 2-1 win. I'm going to go with Manchester City to win this one 2-1, like they did at the Etihad last year, which ultimately won them the title. I think Liverpool are going to slip up to Manchester City here, and I'm going for a 2-1 win. So that is going to do it for this video. If you did enjoy it, as I said before, please leave a like. Let's try and reach 100 likes. Leave your predictions down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video very soon.